breakfast and meal. Did y'all enjoy that?
Yeah.
That was great. So thanks to all the staff, everyone in the back. We appreciate you tremendously. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as we all know what we're here for, we're going to go ahead and open this up and welcome each and every one of you to the 2019 Induction Ceremony here for the Military Rodeo Cowboy Hall of Fame. If you would, please stand as we do a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, I want to introduce to you your Vice President of the Military Rodeo Cowboy Hall of Fame, Freddie Waltz.
Thank you, Ricky, appreciate it. Again, I'd like to welcome everyone here. Appreciate you coming out. And what I'd like to do is introduce you to the Board of Directors for the Military Rodeo Cowboy Hall of Fame. When your name is called, please stand. President Steve Wood. Secretary and Historian Wayne Bonney. Member at Large and a big ramrod of our getting our sponsors for us, Adam Pollard. Member at Large and our secret supervisor for the selection committee, Steve Stolfus. The Military Rodeo Cowboy Hall of Fame is a nonprofit organization created to honor significant achievements and/or contributions by individuals in the sport of military rodeo. Inductees can be a contestant, stock contractor, contract personnel, rodeo producer, rodeo committee member, or other notable that has made a significant contribution to the advancement of military rodeo. Our nomination process is pretty intense. The committee that was selected this year, all members had previous military experience. All were active at some point in the sport of military rodeo. None of the committee members were allowed to be nominated during the cycle. They themselves could not be nominated into the hall. The selection committee was chosen prior to the nominations being solicited. I want to thank again Steve Stolfus and the committee for helping us out for quite an intense period of time. And I'm really proud of the selection process this year. They're all volunteers and they did an outstanding job. There were 17 nominations. Well-deserving cowboys and cowgirls were reviewed and considered for selection this year. Those not selected will remain eligible and under consideration for the next 3 years. And I'll give it back to our MC, Ricky.
Appreciate you, Freddie. As we get to the induction part of the Military Rodeo Hall of Fame, we're going to start off with Bill Stepp, posthumous induction as notable lifetime achievement. Bill was raised on a small farm in Pennsylvania where he fell in love with horses and competed in equestrian events the rest of his life, including the International Horse Show in Saigon in the 1950s. He enlisted in the Marines in 1938 and served for the next 30 years. In World War II, Korea, where he earned the Bronze Star with Combat B in Vietnam. During his assignment on MCV Quantico, Virginia, he managed the base stables, which would lead him to a life after the Corps. Bill retired from the Marines in 1968 and accepted the position of stable manager for Camp Pendleton, California, where he remained for the next 21 years. Accepting this job put Bill right in the middle of the military rodeo, since Camp Pendleton had been hosting the largest military rodeo in the world for over 20 years. Bill threw himself in all aspects of Camp Pendleton Rodeo. He hired the stock contractors, the specialty acts, arranged pre-rodeo events, and acted as an announcer for the rodeo. He arranged for bucking stock, that was provided for the rodeo to arrive 8 weeks early, so that his cowboys and cowgirls could practice and have jackpots each weekend prior to the big event, held in June of that year. He found funds in a tight budget to get a bucking machine for the Camp Pendleton team to practice on and help develop skills that brought multiple team titles to the base. When rodeo stock started delivering babies, like Camp Pendleton, Bill put his farm background to good use and ensured they were all well cared for and ready to eventually take their place in the rough stock herd when they grew up. It was only fitting that Bill was chosen as the Grand Marshal for the 1991 Camp Pendleton Rodeo, a role which he had performed just days before his passing. Accepting on Bill's behalf is his daughter, Jean Kluge.
So I know some of you didn't know my dad, some of you did. But he really loved the Marine Corps so much, he married my mom on the Marine Corps birthday. I think that was so he didn't forget his anniversary. After he retired from the Marine Corps, he moved the family from Tennessee to California to manage the stables and rodeo grounds at Camp Pendleton. He worked 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. He was a real workaholic. Luckily, I was able to spend a lot of my extra time with him when I wasn't in school, and he really instilled in me a really good work ethic. I got to see firsthand how he cared for the animals. He guided teens at the stables. They had a sponsored youth program, which they affectionately called themselves STEPS Young Prisoners, because he did have to do a lot of work. And also the young Marines that were lucky enough to be stationed at the stables. That was their duty station. So they got to learn a lot of things from him as well. He was a really hard man, but he was really, really determined. He had no trouble telling you where you'd done wrong, but he never hesitated to help you out if you needed help. Through his connections with the officers on the base, he was able to get as much funding as he could to make the stables and the rodeo run efficiently. And he loved being an announcer stand. He'd announce the rodeos all day and say, what was his favorite saying, Sonny, do you remember? Eat dirt, cowboy. After he had a stroke, he was forced to retire. But he was really determined. He didn't want to just sit around. And there was a lady around the street from us that taught him how to oil paint with his offhand, I would say. He painted some really beautiful Southwest art and scenery from his younger days when he was in Pennsylvania. I never thought he would be a painter, that's for sure. I don't think anybody would have thought that. But he was just very determined, and like mentioned, he held on, and so he could be the Grand Marshal at the parade. Sorry. So on behalf of myself and my family, we thank you guys. That's it.
Our next inductee is going to be Cotton Rosser. Inducted as stock contractor. Cotton and the Flying U Rodeo Company are names that have become synonymous with the sport of rodeo, and for years it included being the primary contractor for military rodeos. Cotton was born in Long Beach, California, and attended Cal Poly University, San Luis Obispo, where he competed as part of the college rodeo team. After a promising contestant career, he was cut short due to a ranch accident. He purchased the Flying U Ranch Rodeo in 1965, and as so many like to say, the rest is history. His stock has been featured as some of the largest rodeos in the country, including multiple times at the PRCA National Finals Rodeo. He is also the former Stock Contractor of the Year winner and a member of the PRCA Board of Directors. Flying U rodeos are well known for their elaborate and well choreographed openings, and this usually included honoring military members at many of their rodeos. Cotton realized early on that rodeo and the military were as American as you can get, and has always tried to involve military cowboys and cowgirls in his show. He has introduced them in military rodeos and PRCA rodeos in the traditional events, but also special competitions such as bucking mules, cowboy poker, bull teeter-totter, and other exotic endeavors. They were always crowd pleasers. Cotton has raced some of the largest military rodeos such as MCB Camp Pendleton, Bell Air Force Base, Travis Air Force Base, and NAS El Toro. His relationship with MCB Camp Pendleton allowed him to leave stock on the base most of the year, which provided practice stock for the Marine station there. During the 1990s, Cotton produced over half of the MRCA rodeos each year, which provided opportunities for military contestants to compete on in some of the biggest venues in the West Coast. He has continued to promote military rodeos and is a great supporter of our military cowboys and cowgirls. Due to commitments at the Cow Palace Rodeo, Cotton could not be here today with us. Accepting on his behalf is a Hall of Fame Vice President, Ray Walsh.
This is pretty tough for me. As the vice president, I was able to call and inform Cotton that he had been voted in for induction on his 92nd birthday. And he was so happy about it. He said, "You know, I love you guys so much." And I said, "We know that, Cotton, and we really appreciate everything you've always done for us." And he said, "As a matter of fact, you know, I'm putting on Barstow, California this year, or did this year, and by golly, if you did, they just had the rodeo here not too long ago." And but on behalf of Cotton I want to thank the board and the committee, selection committee very much. I know Cotton's going to treasure this, just like he's in every other Hall of Fame, so, you know, and when you mention Cotton's name, you know that, like how you're going to see a good show and some of the best bucking stock in the world. So, on behalf of Cotton, thank you very much.
Our next inductee, Steve Wood. Induction is notable. Being born in Nebraska and raised in Montana, almost guaranteed that Steve Wood had a place in rodeo. He competed in high school rodeo, in saddle bronc, and bull riding before joining the Marines in 1968, where he served for the next 23 years. In his role as communications specialist, he served as MCAS El Toro, MCV 29 Palms, Okinawa, Vietnam, and the Middle East during Desert Storm. While stationed in California during the 1970s, Steve competed in open rodeos and saddle bronc and bull riding, and was part of the Yuma Military Finals Rodeo in 1982 and 1983. When the Military Rodeo Association formed, he became a team captain for the 29 Palms team and led them to the team championship in 1983. After being reassigned to MCAS El Toro, he became the team captain of their rodeo team. Steve was instrumental during the mid-'80s in getting rodeo schools to be conducted locally for the military contestants to help build skills. He competed at the MRA World Finals in 1985, as well as 1988. During his time at 29 Palms, he helped start the first military rodeo held on the base and hosted the 1983 MRA Finals. It was during this period that he got to start stock contracting, as he owned several bulls that were used as a practice stock at 29 Palms in Camp Pendleton. After retiring from the Marines, Steve continued working in the communications field before eventually managing a hardware store. Steve continued his efforts as a stock contractor and provided bulls for many rodeos in Arizona from 2004 to 2014. He has served on the Arizona 4th of July Rodeo Committee since 2000 and is president of the committee in 2019. Wanting to honor all of those who competed in military rodeo, Steve led the effort to found the Military Rodeo Cowboys Hall of Fame and was elected its first president in 2018. As we welcome Steve Wood.
speak, we'll have that talk again eventually. Ready? You're like my best man. This might be a roast, I don't know.
Always give you away.
Thank you very much. I think that covered it right there. I'm not going to be too long up here. They kind of cut me off all the time. But I'm very honored, and I was floored when I got the call. It really was. Because I was not expecting this whatsoever. And to be honored this early on and go to my grave early. Thank you.
Our next inductee, Roy Madden. Induction is notable. Roy was born and raised in the heart of cowboy country in Holmville, Oklahoma. He joined the United States Air Force in 1967 and served 4 years in personnel and finance at Little Rock Air Force Base, Arkansas. He regularly competed in open rodeos around the arena in saddle bronc, tie-down roping, team roping. After leaving the Air Force, Roy became the recreational manager and later stable manager for MCB 29 Palms, California. It was in this role that he became involved in military rodeo when he was building equine recreation programs for the base. He developed a base rodeo team, secured funding, and directed construction of a covered multi-purpose riding arena. To ensure that the rodeo team had the support they needed, he worked with the commanding structure to obtain rodeo equipment like bleachers, bucking stock, timed event stock, and a bucking machine that helped the team train. Roy was responsible for the first rodeo on the base and worked with other installations to initiate rodeo programs on their bases. He was also instrumental in getting TAD orders for the team to attend practice in rodeos. Roy was one of the co-founders of the Military Rodeo Cowboy Association and helped write a standardized rule book, build membership, and establish a system for qualifying the military finals rodeo. He has actively competed in PRCA, open rodeos, and the National Police Rodeo Association, winning their team roping title in 1983. After retiring from federal service in 2002, Roy moved to Henrietta, Oklahoma, where he operates a small ranch operation and works with the Economic Development Director for the Chamber of Commerce. He has been active as a singer-songwriter and enjoys performing cowboy music whenever he can. Roy has stayed involved in the local Henrietta rodeos and building a monument for a 16-time world champion, Jim Shoulders. Ladies and gentlemen, man.
Well, I can't believe I'm nervous. I rehearsed a speech I was going to give from my 2 catalogs of barn cats. They accepted it pretty good. You get in front of a crowd, you get nervous. So I thought I better write something down so I wouldn't forget it. But I do want to thank our selection committee and everyone involved in Military Rodeo. It's been a great effort over many, many years. We have tremendous people involved in it, so I'm very proud to be part of that program. But I know I got some notes. They said when you get older, you kind of age up and forget about things. So it just might be in this pocket right here. perspective. As an inductee this year, I'm actually very humbled. My career, like many of our careers, have gone different directions. It's taken us down different paths. But one path with me has always been on target, and that was to be a cowboy. I was raised in cowboy country, and I wanted to sign on to ride with the cowboy brand. I've made that a big point of my life, all my life. I had images of Jim Shoulders, who lived right down the road from us, actually in Henrietta, where I live now. Casey Tibbs. Images like High Whitlock seared into my mind. This is who I looked up to. These were my cowboys. Whether on active duty or whether working as a DoD civilian, I had a goal. And that goal, beyond the other things that we had to get done, was to bring the value of rodeo, that what it gave to our military cowboys and their family members, to our commands. It was an enormous value. Today we talked about it a little bit, and it was mentioned, I don't believe it mentioned, it was like going home. Finding a home for those young people that were in our military services, that had come from the farms and other areas, come from ranches, looking for a place to be, along with being in the Marine Corps, the Army, or the Air Force. So I made that part of our vision. Our commanders supported other sports, football, baseball, whatever the other sports were. And those are great sports, great opportunities for our military to compete. But they didn't recognize the value that the military rodeo or military cowboys would have when it comes to rodeo. So I began to work with our command at 29 Palms to develop the first rodeo at 29 Palms. I made a visit to Camp Pendleton. Mr. Bill Stepp was there, gave me a lot of good advice. I watched what their program was. My goal was to build a very successful rodeo at 29 Palms. We had our first rodeo. It was a huge success. I believe, Steve, we had about 4,000 people show up for that first rodeo. That cemented our interest in rodeo with the military. I continued to work with the commanders and others to develop a military rodeo team concept. When you develop a military rodeo team concept, I could get them treated like other sports. Permissive TAD orders, the ability to seek travel. That built a formal competition. Well, the first competition we had was team competition. At 29 Palms, we had hundreds of competitors show up. The bull riding, I think, had 150 bull riders in it, if I remember right. Huge turnout. And you learn to get the right kind of people around you. You get good leaders. And so I worked with Steve. Of course, he was our team captain. Ronnie Arrington, one of last year's inductees. And we began to pull a really good, solid program together. We not only won the team competition at year 20 Palms, but only to win the Yuma competition. That cemented the team competition for the military. Very, very important. The next step of that was to try to form an association with a set of rules that fit the military cowboy. Ronnie Arrington, last year's inductee, I worked with him, worked with Steve, and others. Our primary driver, one of my best friends back here at Ronnie Arrington, drove this train. We helped him out. And we developed a military rodeo association with a set of rules that fit the needs of the cowboy, military cowboy. That's really been an honor. You know, the military cowboy has a joint responsibility. They must both display the decorum of a nation of warfighters and hold on to and represent the image of the great American cowboy. They've done that in excellent form, both missions. And I thank you very much. I'm proud to be inducted. Thank you.
Our next inductee, Sonny Borelli. Induction is notable. Sonny was the son of a Marine and took a roundabout path in the rodeo industry. Born in New York, he moved to California and then to Texas, where he spent his high school years and found his passion for the sport of rodeo. After graduating high school, he joined the Marines and spent the next 22 years in the logistics field and assignments in Okinawa and Camp Pendleton. He discovered military rodeo while stationed with 3rd FSG in Okinawa and joined the rodeo team competing in bareback and saddle. Sonny won the 1986 bareback champion at the Camp Pendleton Rodeo. He continued to compete while also helping to recruit members as part of the Military Rodeo Association through 1988. When the MRA collapsed in 1988, Sonny, along with a few other rodeo cowboys, started the Military Rodeo Cowboys Association. We refer to it as the MRCA. The MRCA would hold its first World Finals rodeo in Borneo, Texas that year, and continued to provide a championship event each year through 1999 under Sonny's leadership as the MRCA commissioner. Sonny was the creator of the championship point system that is still used in the MRCA today, as well as introducing the team competition concepts to help gain command support for inter-service competitions. He worked relentlessly to ensure military rodeo contestants had numerous events each year, and the quality WFR to earn the chance at the World Championship. After retiring from the Marines, Sonny moved to Havasu, Arizona, and continued to be a part of local rodeos. He was elected to the Arizona House of Representatives, and then later to the Arizona State Senate. Ladies and gentlemen, I present you Sonny Burrell.
I'll grow into it. I'm a politician, so I'll keep this short. Governor, can I call you back later? I'm in Kansas. Here you go. Sorry. It happened to me on the Senate floor one time too, and I told the governor, don't call me when I'm on the floor. You heard my bio. He's an Italian cowboy, born in New York. Like, how can an Italian guy from New York be a cowboy? Well, you know what? If Clint Eastwood can do spaghetti westerns, like the governor? If Clint Eastwood can do spaghetti westerns, I guess I can be a cowboy. This is the man of the fruit, right? You know, perhaps the most recognizable symbol of America's freedom, spirit, and individualism is that of the American cowboy. And who better to carry out that image in our fighting sons and daughters of our armed forces. That's right, these hard-charging athletes straight out of America's West also have roots that run deep in Western traditions. So I want to talk about that, traditions, because it's all about tradition. We have pioneers in this room, and representing some pioneers in this room, Cotton Rosser, which we affectionately called him the P.T. Barnum of pro rodeo, and Bill Stepp, who Sergeant Major Stepp could be one hard-headed Sergeant Major. I'll just be nice with the ladies and the president. You know, you never questioned his loyalty and his love for Marines and for the sport of rodeo. And Jeannie, you missed me. You know, and also Ace Bowen. You know, Camp Pendleton is the home of the oldest and largest military rodeo in the world, founded in 1948. And that tradition stayed long and kept going until the year 2000.
So Ace Bowen needs to be recognized for that. He's a pioneer. Also, I want to acknowledge another man who was never in the military. But let me tell you something. This man really helped us get something through the PRCA Board of Directors like it was a knife going through butter. But before I talk about this man, I want to acknowledge Ron Arrington and Roy Madden. Because prior to any kind of a rodeo association, any kind of organization whatsoever, when we would go to these little open shows, they would call it military rodeo. My gosh, we'd spend a $50 entry fee. We were lucky if $15 went to the pot. You know, and a lot of times you find out that, you know, the old brother-in-law would kick in and he wasn't coming back with anything. So we made sure that we would go to Kmart and buy big boxes of big bags of popcorn, lots of hot dogs, hang out with the boys over, and hit the hot dog stand instead of throwing it away. We'd scarf that up. But you know, I want to acknowledge your leadership on getting together and trying to get an association started, because it starts from somewhere, and it didn't collapse under their leadership. So I just want to clarify that. When things kind of change hands, you know, things just kind of fall apart a little bit. But we stepped up to the plate and we reformed and tried to strengthen an organization and set down a better foundation for us to build on. But it's that first foundation, that laying that cornerstone, is what really counted. And I commend you for that, and I salute you for that. But let me tell you, there was another phase that we got into, and that was involving Cotton roster, but Bruce Ford, 5-time world champion bareback bronc rider Bruce Ford. He has been a mentor to some of us in here. When Bruce was he was the bareback riding director for the association. Of course, I had developed a relationship with T.J. Walter, who was the number 2 in the PRCA, to try to build a co-sanctioned agreement. We had one with the IPRA, we tried to get one with the PRCA, so we needed to further that relationship, because it's about building relationships and coalitions is how we get things accomplished. Because many hands make light work. So it was Bruce Ford that was extremely instrumental in lobbying everybody on that board of directors, and the whole board, on the contested board, the executive board of the PRCA, to get that exemption to make sure that a PRCA stock contractor wasn't going to get hassled on being able to do military rodeos on a lot of the rules, because there was a lot of rules and regulations that they would kind of get in trouble with. But it was Bruce Ford that really helped us push that through. And Steve was with me that weekend. We went up to Red Bluff, California, and I appeared in front of the PRCA board. I kind of gave our speech and everything. And of course, Bruce came out and said, "That was the fastest I've seen anything this board has ever agreed on unanimously without a hitch." And of course, Cotton really kind of put the icing on the cake and stood up for us and said, "I like these people. I like these Marines. I like these soldiers. I like these cowboys." They say, "Please and thank you, and have good haircuts." But I'm humbled to be recognized for doing this, because I wasn't doing this to just try to keep something going that's always bigger than ourselves. Yeah, I like to compete and everything, but it's about that tradition of something that's bigger than ourselves. And once again, it was the MRC that laid down that cornerstone. But when it comes back down to traditions, that's part of our motto. The Armed Forces and Rodeo, 2 great American traditions. God bless you, and thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Our next and final inductee, Wayne Boney, induction in the all-around category. Wayne was introduced to equine events and rodeo early on in his hometown of Benton, Louisiana. He competed in open rodeos during his teen years and continued after he joined the United States Air Force. He competed in many rodeo associations while stationed at Minot Air Force Base in North Dakota, McConnell Air Force Base in Kansas, Norton Air Force Base in California, and McLennan Air Force Base in California. He discovered military rodeo while stationed at Norton Air Force Base in 1991 and quickly became known as a top military competitor. Wayne may be the most decorated cowboy in military rodeo history, as he owns or is tied for almost every military rodeo record. He has qualified for the Military Rodeo Cowboys Association World Finals Rodeo in bareback riding, bull riding, shoot dogging, and team roping. He holds the MRCA record with 17 total World Finals Rodeo qualifications and qualified in 3 events in 1992, 93, 94, as well as 95. Wayne is one of only 2 cowboys to win the prestigious Camp Pendleton Rodeo bull riding in back-to-back years, and also took the all-around in 1994. He is a 5-time Military Rodeo Cowboy Association World Champion, earning the all-around title in 1992, bareback bull riding and all-around in 93, and a shoot dogging title in 95. When asked to serve as Director of Rodeo Administrations on the Board of Directors for the Military Rodeo Cowboys Association in 1993, Wayne dedicated himself of helping grow the organization and served in this capacity for 8 years. He was asked to reprise his role again in 2018. Wayne is also on the Board of Directors for the Military Rodeo Cowboy Hall of Fame. After Wayne retired from the Air Force, he worked as a consultant in various supply chain management roles. He has continued to be a part of the rodeo as a competitor and as a staff instructor for Sankey Rodeo Schools. Ladies and gentlemen, Wayne.
You can't tell, half the audience is my family. I think I did. Yep, I did. Brought that with me. So, I am humbled to be standing here before you today. I'm trying not to choke up on it. You almost had to go in there talking about cotton on the up. So. But first off, I wouldn't be standing here today if it wasn't for my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. He was the one that brought me through all the all-night drives, all multiple flights on planes all over the country to chase those titles and to do what we do and what we love. So I want to thank him. I want to thank my wife, Cheryl, my 3 children, Kelly, Joe, Jordan, and Hannah, and my mom for being here. All of them kind of got some gray hairs while I ran the roads and did what I did, and I'm sure I stressed them quite a bit over the years doing that stuff. I want to thank, it's not often that you get 2 parents. I had a set of parents. I'll say an adopted set of parents. I went to work for W.R. Duncan in 1978, and he taught me the first bareback moves I ever learned, running up and down a barn on a saddle horse, and an old leather rigging, not even raw. It wasn't down so rawhide in that bareback rigging. It was all soft leather. So he taught me how to ride and how to spur, running up and down that thing, and to be adopted into their family as their number 2 son when their son Trey said he wanted a brother. Well, Karen was real quick to tell him, Wayne will be your brother. So that wasn't going to happen any other way. So that was great, and it has been a pleasure to be with them. There are people here. I look out here, I've got 2 cousins, Anita and Sherry. Anita ties into this real quick because she was the first one to open up her house to a bunch of cowboys traveling down from Minot Air Force Base down to Fort Worth And she opened up her house and let us camp on her floor one year so that we could attend the Lyle Sankey bull riding school. And that was the second time that I had met Lyle Sankey, who I want to give a world of thanks to. He has been a friend, a mentor, and someone I've always been able to look up to. They say, oh, your heroes are cowboys. He was one of mine from way back. So I appreciate that. So I also want to reach out and say thank you to Sonny Browning. He gave me the first opportunity to be a part of the board of directors for the MRCA. And we accomplished a lot during the 90s. We worked a lot of hours to make rodeos happen and work to fill shows for Cotton Rosser and to create those opportunities for all of our cowboys. And I'm proud of what we accomplished during those years, and I'm proud to be back on the board for the MRCA now and rebuilding it. And I am proud to be a part of our Cowboy Hall of Fame and being able to honor and learn about people that I've never met. I never got to meet Bill, but yet as I wrote the history of Bill's step for his induction, I had to interview Gene and learn all about him, and I was so impressed with what he had done and getting to meet and learn more about Roy Madden and the things that he did in the background during the 80s to help build military rodeo. And then I get to work with all these guys on the board. I am just absolutely blown away with what we're able to accomplish every year to hold this ceremony. And I want to say thank you to all of you, and I appreciate it, and that's it. Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming out, traveling to New York, California, and whatnot to be here. We have one more presentation. And on behalf of the board of the Military Rodeo Cowboy Hall of Fame, we'd like to present to our esteemed MC, Ricky Denzel. Thank you, Master of Ceremonies, Military Rodeo Cowboy Hall of Fame, 2019. We'd like to thank all our sponsors who came through for us. Thanks to Adam especially for ramrodding that whole show. It's basically a year-long process. We'd like to thank the hotel for putting up with us for the last couple of years and their great service and quality of rooms that they provide for us. The hall is in need for everyone who has ever been involved in military rodeo to come forward, step forward. If you know someone who may be deserving of a nomination even for the Military Rodeo Cowboy Hall of Fame, go to the website and or on Facebook, and you can track us down and get those forms and get them submitted. It won't be long here. I think after the winter break, we'll probably be getting the ball rolling again. Our website will have a dedicated page to all the inductees. I think we're all on it from last year already, and the new ones will be coming out here before long. And if you follow our Facebook page for the latest news and whatnot, Facebook seems to be the way to do anything anymore. You know, we don't write snail mail or anything like that, you know. But again, thank you so much for coming out. And how about another round